Rewrite your narrative. The stories you tell yourself might actually ruin your life. Here's how to change them. Sourena and Chris here with another mindset video.
The story that you tell yourself is going to help you already back. So the why narrative is so important that take it away, Chris.
I'll take it away. These videos are a collaboration. Sourena, who has cerebral palsy, develops the written material, and I present it on camera. The stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, what you deserve, are either propelling you forward or they're holding you back. And far too often, those kind of stories are actually holding you back. But here's the thing about most of these stories. They're just opinions. And opinions can be challenged, changed, and rewritten. These stories that you tell yourself influence how you make decisions. And the quality of your decisions directly affect the quality of your life. You want greater success? You've got to challenge some of these stories. Today, we're diving into what narrative actually is. Where does it come from? How it affects your success, and most importantly, how to rewrite it so it actually serves you in trying to accomplish your goals instead of sabotaging them. Understanding your narrative. The sum of your stories that you tell yourself equal your narrative. It's your life philosophy. So what is a narrative? Well, it's the collection of stories that you believe to be true about yourself. These stories are basically strong opinions about your situation. These opinions influence your decisions. Right? The decisions then create your life. So you can see why this is so important and so crucial. If we want to achieve greater levels of success, we must challenge these opinions. We must challenge these stories. A narrative is your life philosophy. It's the lens through which you see yourself and the world and how you interact with it. And it is very, very powerful. Where does your narrative come from? Well, it starts in your childhood. The stories we start to hear as children and then compile as we age and go through life build our narrative. According to Jen Cicero, author of the Badass series, when we're kids, we processed our world through emotions and feelings, right? Parents, caregivers, teachers, their words become our internal voice. But these are just opinions, and opinions can be strengthened. Opinions can be changed. These are not dogmatic, right? They're not absolute truths. Here's some examples of some childhood messages that might stick. Clean your plate. There are starving kids around the world. That can lead to overeating as an adult. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are evil. That can lead to a scarcity mindset or some resentment. Athletic gets in the way of academics. That could become a general belief that you pass down through generations. You know, Sourena grew up with a disability, but his parents did everything they could to make sure there was a lot of joy in his life. Many of his extended family were entrepreneurs, and his parents preached of joy and happiness at every opportunity. They never showed that raising a disabled kid was a challenge, right? Sourena was lucky. They handed him a pretty amazing narrative. Life experiences shape your story. As you mature, unique experiences then start to add to those childhood stories and continue to shape that narrative. You know, through adolescence and as we become adults, it adds layers to this. You know, throughout your life, you've got an idea that's shot down and you might become afraid to share ideas because you feel like that's just how it goes. You know, another person is encouraged to pursue their goals and they become these goal-hungry people because they believe that's what it should be and that's part of their narrative. You know, one person falls into an ambitious friend group, right? And that success becomes the norm. Another person falls into a troubled group, and that ends up limiting their potentials. But as we grow and we learn and have more life experience, it just adds layers to this narrative. And it continues. It never stops. You know, a professor or a boss who pushes you or encourages you, or the exact opposite, that professor or boss that just tears you down. You know, the role of luck, good and bad. Sourena views luck as anything outside of the norm, and that can be good and that can be bad. You know, Sourena will offer some examples of bad luck. Getting robbed, being in a verbally abusive relationship, a business partner that steals from you, or medical negligence. That's how Sourena got his disability. It was from medical negligence. And Sourena will say that's some of the worst luck that anybody could have. But then Sourena will flip it on you and talk about examples of good luck, right? Meeting the love of your life at an early age, or hitting the stock market at the right time, somehow going viral on the internet for good reasons, right? That would be good luck. There's also going viral on the internet for the wrong reasons, which could be bad luck. But the bottom line is both good luck and bad luck are part of a success journey, right? It doesn't come out equally. It's just an outlier, and it doesn't tell the truth on how our whole life is going to go. but it definitely adds to the narrative, right? But just because Sorena's in a wheelchair and has the challenges that he has from cerebral palsy due to a doctor's negligence doesn't mean he should have avoided having kids, because history might repeat itself. But you could see how that could have become his narrative, right? Or just because somebody got lucky with one stock doesn't make him a good investor. So whether it's good luck or bad luck, those things change and they contribute to your narrative, but they don't define it. How you process experiences matters. Experiences alone don't shape your narrative. Your interpretation does. Let's say two people get fired. Person A, they sulk, they're down on themselves, they're depressed, and they just wallow in self-pity. That means they're going to stay stuck. Person 2 says, you know what, it is what it is. I've got to figure out how to deal with this challenge. I need a job. And they end up with a better job within a few weeks. Or imagine two people going through a breakup. Person A goes through a bad breakup and they become jaded and they close themselves off and they avoid new relationships. That becomes part of their narrative. Person B says, you know what, let's figure out what went wrong in this relationship. And no matter whose fault it is, what can I do to be a better partner in relationships? And they improve their life and they end up finding somebody better and end up in this happy relationship. But the lesson here is that adversity can be the best teacher, but you have to be ready to be taught and glean the lessons that adversity is teaching you. Challenge your narrative. Every narrative can be challenged. We all, whether we like it or not, based on just how narratives come to be, have stories that might be holding us back. I'm afraid to fall in love because I'm afraid I'll get hurt. Or I don't want to start a new business because I watched a friend who is an entrepreneur try that and fail. I can't do X because of my past. Every goal that you have and every challenge that you face needs an empowering narrative. Some things that you'll find with successful entrepreneurs and just successful people in general, there's certain qualities, right? They have resilience, creativity, team building, and empowering mindsets. When you're talking about your health and fitness, those goals require a narrative around healthy eating habits, constant workout routines, prioritizing sleep, all of those sort of things. If you're going to deal with trauma and we're rewriting our narrative, you've got to challenge your feelings, right? You've got to put those raw emotions into perspective, right? We've got to figure out ways to process pain in a healthy way. As a specific example, Sourena, as a disabled person, part of his process is understanding how to deal with the physical aspects of his disability and the emotional ramifications that he faces daily. To be honest, Sourena doesn't always do a great job. People will ask him when we're doing different events, what's it like having cerebral palsy? And Sourena said, it sucks. It's kind of funny to hear that from a motivational speaker, but it's true, right? But Sourena has to manage the challenges and manage the emotion that goes with the challenge every day. And if he sat there and wallowed because it sucked and became a victim, he would have never been able to accomplish the amazing things that he's accomplished. But a big part of your narrative is just your approach, right? It's whatever you're doing, the way you show up for your goals. Sourena's narrative is based on grit and personal responsibility and just finding a way. No matter how daunting or challenging something seems, Sourena will find a way. And that's why his narrative is so strong. Surround yourself with better stories. It's just not about your internal stories, because your narrative is written by the stories of others as well. Where do our stories come from? Well, they come from loved ones and friends, colleagues at work, books you read, the news you watch, podcasts you listen to, the social media threads that you follow, conversations that you have, right? There's influence that we don't realize, right? The conversations that we have or that we think about or even we watch influence in ways that we don't even realize sometimes, right? Sometimes it's just subconscious. So in order to rewrite our narrative or challenge our stories, we must simply listen and embrace better stories. Some tangible examples for Sourena: want to lose weight? Hang out with people who have achieved that. People that have healthy lifestyles. If you're around those sort of people, that's the kind of people that'll help build stories that support your fitness journey. Want to move up in your career? Find a successful leader who's going to inspire you, coach you, and be the best. Find a mentor or a coach like Sourena who's going to make sure you maximize your potential. You want to write a book? Go to a writer's conference. Hang out with other authors. Read books about writing. Watch videos about the process, right? Surround yourself with those stories. Because the bottom line is, to change your narrative, you must want to change. And you must change the messages that you're hearing or paying attention to and implementing into your life. Your story is written in pencil. What does that mean? It means you have an eraser. It means you can erase and you can create new stories that better support you. That's exactly what rewriting your narrative is. Your stories are not etched in stone. They're not even written in ink. They're written in pencil, right? A number 2 pencil, the kind you used through your entire, grade school and high school, right? They can be rewritten. They can be challenged. Not only can they be, but they should, right? Even 100% true stories can hold you back. Although something can be 100% true, the story might be what's actually holding you back, not the truth. So here's the process, Sorena's process. Understand what you want out of life. Look at what you're doing. Look at the stories behind your actions. See if the stories are helping you or they're actually holding you back, and strengthen the helpful stories and rewrite the harmful ones. So Sourena offers you a few simple ways to start. Hang out with a friend who's got a strong narrative. Just be around them more. Spend time with neighbors or family who've accomplished amazing things. Consistently read texts and books and things that support your goals. Watch YouTube videos like this one that align with what you want to achieve. So let's bring it all together. Your narrative is made up of stories. Stories from childhood, from adolescence, from adulthood, stories from experiences, these stories that you tell yourself every single day. And these stories shape our decisions, and your decisions, in turn, shape your life. A few key takeaways. Your narrative came from your childhood and life experiences. How you process experiences matter more than the experiences themselves. And every narrative can be challenged and rewritten. You must surround yourself with better stories. And remember, your story is written in pencil, not in ink, and certainly not etched in stone. So this week, Sourena wants you to identify one challenge that's been holding you back. Just one. Then ask yourself, is this helping me? Holding me back? If it's holding you back, start rewriting it. Find a person, a book, a coach, a video that gives you a better story to believe in. So comment below, what's one story that you're ready to rewrite? And let's support each other in this. So go out there and rewrite your narrative, and the future will thank you. If you enjoy this content, make sure that you download Sourena's ebook, 5 Keys to an Amazing Mindset, by clicking on the link in the description. And also, please like, comment, and share.